Third grade, welcome to computer enrichment. You are now in enrichment from 12:35 to about 1:05. So I have you for 30 minutes. You should be on mute right now. Eventually, I'm going to ask you to take yourself off mute so we can talk, but there's a couple of quick things I want to cover real quick. First off, let's talk about some of the norms we have here in class. First off, let's do a quick tech check. If you can hear me, give me a thumbs up. If you can hear me, give me a thumbs up. I'm going to scroll through the cameras to make sure everybody's thumb is up. Make sure your thumb is where the camera's at, right? Because if you have it to the side, I can't see it. If you have it to the other side, I won't see it. But you got to make sure the camera sees your thumb. That way Mr. Z sees your thumb. All right. Now, if you notice here on Mr. Z's screen, you have to make sure your mic is off because we don't want to pick up your background noise, right? Your mic has to be off and your video must be on. So take a look right here. The picture of the mic with the red line, and the video must not have a red line. That way I can see you, because when I scroll through the videos, I want to make sure that you're sitting up, right? That you're sitting up, that you're not laying down, you're not covered up with the blanket, you don't have your head on a pillow. I saw a couple of those things yesterday, so make sure that I can see you on your camera, right? Also, if you need to get my attention, I'm going to have a lot of students in this classroom, a lot. If you notice, there's 91 of us, 91 of us in this class. And I only can see 4 at a time right now. So when you have a question, you need to raise your hand. And Mr. Z is going to be scrolling through the videos so I can see maybe you have your hand up. But if you had your hand up too long and Mr. Z hasn't noticed it, then maybe you can wave that hand. And if Mr. Z is still talking and hasn't noticed you and you've got an important question you want to ask it, maybe you should wave both hands, right? Try to get my attention. And then if you can't, well, on the bottom of your Zoom, there's always the chat. Has everyone used the chat so far? Give me a thumbs up if you have. Only a thumbs up if you used the chat so far. Very good. All right. Now, one more thing. I'm looking through the list here. I want to make sure everybody has their name. That way, if I call on you, I can call on you by your name and not by some weird, odd number that Zoom decided to put on that. I think everybody in 3rd grade has learned how to name themselves because everyone seems to be doing really, really good. I have Bulldog 20. Bulldog 20. If your name is Bulldog 20, take yourself a mic and tell me your name. If you're Bulldog 20, take yourself off mute and tell me your name.
Paisley.
Paisley? All right. Paisley, do you know how to rename yourself, Paisley?
No.
All right. Can you see my screen okay, Paisley? Do you see where it says participants on the left side? If you go to the bottom of your Zoom, it should pop up. Did participants pop up on the bottom for you? Did participants pop up on the bottom for you? Do you see it on the bottom? Participants, that's with the P, it's a big word. P is like 90 plus people. Do you see it? When you
Yes.
click on participants, Paisley. And the very first one on top.
Yes, I did.
All right, the very first one on the right side should be you. Do you see where it says Bulldog 20?
Yes.
If you put your mouse over it and go to the right side, a blue button comes up and it says rename. Do you see that blue button?
No.
It's on the right side. If you put your mouse over your name, Bulldog 20, a blue button will come up that says rename. Do you see that? It might even say more.
No.
Does it say more?
Yes.
Click on more. It might be underneath more.
Yes. What?
Does rename? You see it now? Did it work for you, Paisley? Can you type in your name now?
Yes. Yes.
Awesome. All right. And this is so your teacher knows who you are, right? Especially if you're in your home Google Classroom. Google Classroom is a way that we communicate with each other whether we are in the same classroom together or if we're in one inside our homes, right? So we can do Google Classroom either from school or at home, right? But in order to do this, you need to have a Google account. Now, this is not a Gmail account. Some of your parents think this is a Gmail account. It's not. It is a Google account for education. And we're going to talk a little bit about it today. Why is it important to know how to use Google Classroom? Because you're going to be getting work in 3rd grade that came to you in a packet. But you're also going to get work that's coming to you digitally or through the computer through Google Classroom, just like Google Classroom in 2nd grade. Remember on Google Classroom, there was a section called classwork? So you're either going to get your assignment in a packet, Jocelyn, or you're going to get your assignment in Google Classroom. You need to be able to know how to use that, right? So how do we use Google Classroom? How do we get into Google Classroom? Mr. Z is going to show you this. 3rd grade Google account for education. That is what the GAS stands for, Google account for education. All right, so what does your Google account begin with? It begins with your year of graduation. Your year of graduation is 2030, right here, 2030. That is your year of graduation. After your year of graduation of 2030, go ahead and write that down, 2030. Everyone should be writing.
2030.
Now the next part is the first 3 letters of your first name. Now Mr. Z is going to use his first name as an example.
A-N-T.
My first name is Nolan, and the first 3 letters are N-O-L. So you got to think of your first name and only write the first 3 letters. First 3 letters. Edgar, you want a car ride, Edgar? So I'm going to record this, and then I'm going to share this, okay, Edgar? I'm going to share it, so later you can write this, Edgar. All right. After the first 3 letters in your first name, what do you think comes next, boys and girls? Your last name, your whole last name, your very last name.
Without.
Very, very last name. Some of us have 2 last names. And we're like, well, Mr. Z, which last name am I going to use? You're going to use the very last one, right? The very last name you have. And then you're going to use the whole last name. Now, you got to make sure you get the spelling right. And if you need any help, you can always ask your homeroom teacher, or you can ask your parent for this, right? Now, here's the big part. Are you ready for it, boys and girls? You need to write your domain, your email address. And that's right here with the @ Does everybody see it where it says @? It says @GAE dash or hyphen SISDK12.NET. It's pretty big, right? NET. I want everybody to write that. All right, boys and girls. Now you need one more thing for your Google account, and that is a password. Can everybody see the password on the screen?
Password.
It's SISD2020. Everybody write it down, right, Kevin? We're going to write that down, Kevin. Now I have about 5 more minutes with you, and what I would like for you to do is to watch Mr. Z and how I use this. So pay close attention. Let me stop this really quick. I'm going to share my whole screen with you. You should see my whole screen pop up. Give it a moment, and I'm going to get rid of this right here.
You know.
All right.
Electronic.
Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the very top up here on the very top bar, and I'm going to hit the plus sign. Does everybody see the plus sign? When I click that plus sign, I get a new tab. You remember this from last year, how Mr. Z made a new tab? Now I'm working over here on the top. I'm working over here on the top.
Mr. Z,
Yes.
so do you have to install the app or do you find it on Google?
That's a very good question. So do you have to install this app or not? If you're using the internet like on a desktop computer, you don't have to install the app at all. And that's what I'm going to show you on right now using a desktop, is that you don't have to install the app for this. Just need the internet. Now, if you go to the top and you hit the plus sign, you're going to get a Google search page. This is a Google search page. Now, what I want you to focus on here is on the right side. Does everybody see the right side where the 9 squares is at?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
If your video is in the way, you can click your video and you can drag it down and get your video out of the way. Does everybody see the 9 squares?
Yes.
Next to it is Mr. Z's picture. Do you see Mr. Z's picture? When I click here on my picture, this is my account. Now, if you do this on your computer, you might see your parents' account. But you notice right here where it says add another account. Do you see where it says add another account? I'm gonna say it again. Where it says add another account.
Another account.
There's where you're gonna have to go. You're gonna click there, and then you're gonna type in your email address. Now you're not doing this right now, you're just watching Mr. Z. You're gonna type in your email address, your Google account email address, that 2030, first 3 letters of your first name, and then your full last name, hyphen, that GAE, what we talked about. This is where your email goes. When you click next, it's gonna ask you for a password. You remember what the password is? It is SISD2020, and that's what you have to do to log in. One more thing before you go. I got you for 3 more minutes. Now, if your mom or dad is with you, get their attention. That way they can have this information. If you have a mom, a dad, or maybe an even older sibling, I don't have all of you in your mind, which is a way that I communicate with your parents. And the easiest way to do this, I'm going to make this screen a little bigger for you. The easiest way to do this is to send a text to this number, 81010. And the message you have to send is on the bottom. Can you see it?
Yes.
All right, so either write it down or go get your mom and dad to come get this information. This is the last thing you have to do. This is all you have to do.
What's my dad doing?
So once again, we'll put everybody on mute. I'm going to repeat the information for you. I'm going to put everybody on mute.
My mom's right here. She's listening.
All right, Camila. So if you haven't joined my remind to receive messages, this is what you have to write. You're going to send a text to 81010. You want to text the message at 2D6G-DK3. And I'm going to say it again for as long as you need me to say it. This is the remind for 3rd grade. Yeah, so what are you doing it right now?
Mr. Z.
Bye.
All right, as soon as you have the information, you may log off.
Bye, Mr. Z. Bye, Mr. Z.
Bye.
My mom already has it.
See you later.
My mom has it.